Today's review is the first of the brand new beers from Sainsbury's supermarket. This is Outcast by Northern Monk. But what's it going to be like? Keep watching to find out. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. Today we're going to Sainsbury's. It seems like Sainsbury's are leading the way when it comes to craft beer at the moment. This is Outcast from Northern Monk. Slightly different design. I picked it up and thought, oh, that looks interesting, and then suddenly realised it was Northern Monk. This is a hazy IPA at 6%. Nothing about the hops on it, which I always find annoying. I don't understand why Northern Monk on any of their non-supermarket beers always put the hops on it, but for some reason they stopped doing it. And I always think, why are they doing that? What are they trying to hide? As I said, 6%. It just says, attack of the haze. Your taste buds weren't prepared for an IPA seemingly from another world. Craft brewed with northern pride and bursting through your defences with monstrous, juicy flavours, always fresh from the north. And I don't know if this is this part? I think this is part of a faith in the future. Yeah, it does say, yeah, we're putting faith in the futures. It doesn't actually say it on it. So it's not, I don't think it's a faith in the futures, but it's Outcast Hazy IPA. So let's crack it open, get it in a glass and see what it's all about. Interesting that Sainsbury's, they are leading the way. I mean, I'm not saying that they've got really the best craft beers, but certainly in terms of the different types and the fact that they're very committed to getting new stuff in all the time. Where I feel that someone like Tesco's that used to lead the way, a little bit lacking in terms of new stuff. Maybe that's just a change and they're going to sort of start. I do find it surprising that Sainsbury's have decided to wait until the middle, not wait, but get out early, middle of January, new releases of beer, when there's a lot of people obviously doing dry January, drinking alcohol-free beers. But I thought, well, let's make a stand and let's make a start on these beers. So, beer in a glass. Yeah, this looks like your sort of New England IPA, very hazy, thick looking. We've got 2 and a bit fingers of fairly compacted, just a little bit off white head. But it looks pretty good. Let's see what the aroma's like. Yeah, I mean, it's got that sort of aroma that I'd almost say it's almost like a good supermarket beer aroma. In that it's very juicy. There's lots of aroma. But it's difficult to pick out. Yeah, you're getting your mango, peach and passion fruit, pineapple, orange. It doesn't smell dissimilar to some of those other recent ones from Northern Monk. Well, I say recent, it's probably a while ago, but there were new ones they got in where we had, there was a new one, Faith in the Futures one in Sainsbury's, which I can't remember what it's called. Something, was it a person's name? I think it was. I don't think it was Lucy Ketching, because I think that might be Lucy Ketching. I always get that one confused with the other one that was in Waitrose. And that was okay. I think it was the better. And then there was those other 2 ones that they had from in Tesco's. Heretic was one, and it was another one that was a Faith in the Futures. We had a Heathen as well that's still in there. It's got that same sort of aroma. Real sort of juicy, lots of aroma in there, but difficult to really pick out hops and pick out distinct sort of fruit aromas. But I've talked enough. Let's drink it. Cheers, everyone. It's soft, low levels of carbonation. It's quite light in its body. Flavour, though, it's very similar to the aroma in that it's juicy. There is some nice flavours there, but nothing that you can pick out. It's very tropical, I think, more on the tropical side. There's sort of orange and sort of peach and mango are the big flavours. I'm not getting much in terms of grapefruit or maybe a little bit of grapefruit, really sort of small amounts. But there's not much complexity. It's just a big hit of flavour. It's smooth and it's inoffensive. But it tastes to me like a supermarket beer. Sometimes I can't always put my finger on it. It used to be that supermarket beers were always a little bit watery. I wouldn't call this watery, although it's quite light. But it's just that the flavours are a little bit, it's difficult. I couldn't tell you what hops are in this. it's easy to say, Citra Mosaic, could be those. You know, you could have something in there like maybe Columbus or maybe even Eldorado, something like that. But there's no real sort of, nothing jumps out at you. And I think that's a very distinct in terms of supermarket beers that are very similar to this. And it makes me wonder whether Northern Monk are following some of the other supermarket breweries in terms of they're formulating a sort of hop blend and then using that in their beers. Because to me, this isn't much different than Heathen. This isn't much different than any of the new Northern Monk beers. I don't think they have made beer as good for supermarkets since the white can Faith in the Futures. Yeah, it's pleasant, and I think even you know, if you haven't had craft beer before, it's quite nice. You know, it's you probably enjoy it, and if you're not a big craft beer drinker, you just go to supermarkets and buy the occasional sort of craft beer, something a bit different, then it's a solid beer. But you know, comparing that with any of the beers, I mean, even beers I've had this year, you know, I have to think because I don't know how many of these beers I've actually reviewed and actually got on the channel yet. But I mean, even like likes of Azvex and Track, Polly's, Sure Shot, it's not up there with those at all. I haven't mentioned the price either of these beers. So I think they're all £3.50. Pretty much all the new ones are £3.50. But you could buy 4 of them. You can buy 4 of the same one, or you can buy 4 mix and match for the price of 3. So £3.50, 3 times that is what, £10.50. Divide that by 4, £2.65 or something like that, £2.66 even. A can of beer. For that money, it's pretty damn good, to be honest. You know, it's pretty good because you have got to spend at least £1.50 more to get a better beer. And I suppose, you know, if your money's tight, then you're buying 4 of those, you know, it's just, you know, if I bought 4 of these, for example, for £10.50, I'd buy 2 decent beers from Azvex, or 2 decent beers from Track or Rivington or something like that, and I'd pay about the same for 2 of those beers. So you are getting more for your money, but it depends on what you want to drink, you know. This isn't bad, but for me, I think that Northern Monk are using a hop blend, and I think that because of the way that that's made, it means that they can cut their margins a bit. They can get more. The margins are higher because I think supermarkets are going to squeeze the breweries, and I think that's disappointing. For me, I think that craft beer in supermarkets has gone down over the last couple of years instead of gone up. They went for a stage since I've been doing this channel, 2020. We're in 2024 now. It's 4 years nearly. It'll be 4 years for me in June. The first year it was all right, but nothing was great. And then there seemed to be a massive peak. I think because of obviously the COVID and all that time, and more people buying beers from supermarkets, there was definitely a rise in the quality of supermarket beer. But in the last year or so, when we've gone back to normality and more people are going out to pubs and all that sort of stuff, there's definitely been a dip in craft beer, which I don't like. I don't like it because it's good to get more people drinking craft beer, and the supermarkets is that entry to it before they go, oh, well, maybe I can buy something like this online, and then they start looking, and then they get like me, where they're spending their days just looking at craft beer and new releases, of which there are loads. If anything, the breweries are doing more stuff. Bottle shops I think are busier than they've ever been because there's such a great lot of quality. So we've been hooked in through COVID, through the supermarkets doing good quality craft beer, but now that has dipped in the supermarkets, and I think I'm not seeing many good craft breweries there. You've got Northern Monk, you've got Salt, you've got Polly's that are more there than they ever used to be, but you've still got all these sort of weird ones you don't see anywhere else. You get in your Tiny Rebels and your Brewdogs. So I've talked enough about that, but I'd be interested to see how the rest of the beers are. I mean, I thought that this one would be good because Northern Monk are generally one of the leaders in supermarket beers. The Polly's one will be the next one to see how good that is compared with other Polly's. The Tiny Rebel, I have little expectations. And the other one that I did was by Two Horns, I think it was called, which is a West Coast beer. I think it's a West Coast beer, but it's got New Zealand hops in it, which I'm quite interested. But I don't know much about that brewery, so I'll be interested to see how they sort of fare against something like this. But this beer, it's good. I would recommend it, mainly because it's quite cheap and it's a very drinkable beer. But there are definitely better beers out there if you want to spend £1, £1.50 more for your beer. But let's get some scores. Okay, the scores are in for Outcast in this green can from Northern Monk. We don't know what hops. It's a hazy IPA, we know that, and it's 6%. And it's a solid supermarket beer without being anywhere near as good as some of their Northern Monk supermarket beers have been in the past. But let's go for the scores. Start with aroma. Appearance. Flavour. Value for money. And finally, my overall experience. Tighten the scores up. Yeah, it's a recommended beer. It's a White Snake beer. Slide it in, slow and easy. But, you know, you'd be making a bit of a slip of the tongue, you know, if you decided that this was the best beer that you could buy, because there are lots of better beers. Northern Monk's patron projects, there's another slip of the tongue, are definitely a big step up from this. Yes, you're going to pay more, but they're a big step up. But this is, for me, a solid beer. If I'm going to go to the supermarket and buy a beer, this one will be top of my list, really, because it's inoffensive. There's no weird flavours. It's got a good body, especially for a supermarket beer, and it's just good. You know, it's definitely good and recommended. But let me know if you've had any new supermarket beers from Sainsbury's. Maybe you've watched this video and you've just popped into Tesco or Waitrose or Morrison's and thought, my God, there's lots of new stuff in there. Let me know in the comments. I need to know so I can go out and buy those beers and review them for you. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope usually I get more views from my supermarket beers, so I hope you enjoy those. We had a bit of a break. I've got quite a lot of beers stacked up in the fridge now because I bought some and then suddenly saw the supermarket beers, but they will come. There's some good beers coming. It'll be interesting to see if there's any of these supermarket beers I want to rush out and buy again. But yeah, God, I'm whittling on, aren't I? So until the next one, you know what you do. Like the video, of course, only if you like it. Subscribe, of course, if you're not already a Rocker Beers Reviews subscriber. And yeah, drink a craft beer and keep on rocking.